Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer.
Sean Spicer will be getting a new position.
A decorated veteran, a political strategist, and he knows Washington inside and out.
Just like Sean Spicer.
The Spicer era.
Sean Spicer.
The Full Court Press is on the air. Now, here's Sean Spicer.
All right, good Sunday to you. It is Palm Sunday. We are 1 week out from Easter and at the beginning of Holy Week. I'm excited. It's a great week to both in terms of faith and on a personal level. I find this week to be a little relaxing. Congress is out of session, but boy, did we come out of this week with a bang. I mean, between Iran, DHS, everything else. You know, I got to be honest, and I know a lot of you, well, the WABC audience extends everywhere. I mean, we know that. But there's a lot of you in the New York area. And I can't believe, after being in politics for 30 years, what the Democrats have gotten away with. The idea that we didn't fund TSA and DHS, which came out of 9/11, is just unbelievable. And here's the thing. I think both parties have problems, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that in a second. Because the Democrats are obvious. I just can't believe that they did this. I just... mind-blowing. But I want to give you some context as to why this matters, and I'm going to start with my own party here. The Republican Party, I'm going to be honest, did a horrible job of communicating the effects of this shutdown. Where were the events at airports saying these lines are because of them, this lack of security is because of them? It wasn't just TSA, by the way. We didn't even talk about the Coast Guard and the other services that are under the other agencies that are under DHS. Let me read you this, though, just to give you a sense of why I'm so pissed off about how Republicans messaged. The acting TSA administrator testified in front of the Homeland Security Committee, okay? And said the following, and I'm going to quote exactly what she said, okay? Because I don't want anyone to say, oh, well, this was your take on this, okay? This is what she said. TSA's greatest asset is their people. I want to thank them for their unrelenting effort. We have some reports of, this is her in her testimony, I've heard reports of some airports asking the public to donate grocery store and gas gift cards in the amount of $10 or $20. But shutdowns and funding uncertainties have real and measurable impacts on recruitment, retention, and employee morale. TSA employees are dedicated public servants that want to continue to keep the traveling public safe and secure, but they are running out of options to keep a roof over their head. I mentioned this last week, folks. The entry-level TSA officer that you see at the airport makes $35 grand. $35 grand. A mid-level person makes like between 42 and 46. So when they don't get paid, it's a big deal. Let me go on with what she said. During the 43-day government shutdown in October and November of 2025, gosh, we can't even remember that, around 1,100 TSOs, those are transportation security officers, separated from TSA. They quit their day, representing a 25 increase in TSO separations from the same time. Since government funding lapsed in February, the cost of incoming work is becoming more untenable for the workforce. As of Tuesday, March 24th, TSA has already lost around 460 officers, and the daily call-out rate at airport checkpoints has increased from 4% pre-call-out to now 11% nationwide, with multiple airports experiencing greater than 40 and 50% of rates. What does that mean? A few things. One, that's why you have a line. That's why you have a line, because of that. And when think about that. The first shutdown, 1,100 quit. This shutdown already 460. That's 1,500 officers off gone. And what's any of you that run a business or are involved in running a business know what I'm about to say. The most expensive part about hiring someone is recruiting them and then training them. So when these guys walk off the job, we've now got to go out and recruit new TSA officers, and then we got to train them. And oh, by the way, in the interim, because it's not like working at 7-Eleven or McDonald's, God bless those people, but I'm just saying, you don't just say, here's how the register works. These people have to understand all of the threats that we face, how people are trying to avoid detection and what to look for in their bags and their screenings. So you can't just hire them and put them on the line. So we have America 250 coming up, a lot of events in the tri-state area throughout the country. We have FIFA with games all over the country. You're going to see this again. Okay, so you say, Sean, well, you know what? This happens and we'll fund it. But here is the other part that I want you to wrap your head around. Again, the TSA administrator testifying in front of Congress. The transportation sector remains a top target for our enemies and terrorists, all while passenger volumes are reaching record highs. A lack of funding and predictability of resources poses significant challenges to our ability to deliver transportation security with the level of excellence we expect. My apologies. What does that mean? That means we're not as safe as we're supposed to be. That means there are vulnerabilities. My God, what was 9/11? Why did we stand this all up? Because dudes brought stuff on a plane and killed Americans. So number one, what the hell are Republicans doing? Where are they sounding the alarm? I talk to most people and they go, oh, the long lines, isn't that because of spring break? No, it's not because of spring break. I mean, this is insane. I want to play you, and hold on, let me just finish this, and then I'll tell you about the genius boy, Hakeem Jeffries. Where are Republicans making the case? I haven't seen a damn Republican out there talking about the challenges that we face in security or all of these officers off the job. I mean, my goodness, I worked for 9 different members of Congress. We were always doing stunts and events. Where's the press conference at Reagan National Airport? Where's the communication? Where's the talk about the threats that we face because of Democrats? The reason Democrats are getting away with this is because Republicans aren't doing their job. I'm sorry, it's Sunday morning. I don't want to be talking about this, but this is insane. I thought that our team was, when we got back, we were going to fight for the right things. How simple is this? This is what we're supposed to be for, protecting the country. We got one party walking off the field and the other party doesn't give a damn. You think it's that difficult? Watch this. Here's a clip that I dredged up of the esteemed leader of the Democratic Party talking not so long ago about why it mattered that we funded DHS. Take a listen to Hakeem Jeffries.
We are here today to do a single job, and that should be to fund fully the Department of Homeland Security. Anything else is an abdication of our responsibility. Anything else is an act of legislative malpractice simply because of the inability of my friends on the other side of the aisle to satisfy the thirst of the extreme right-wing anti-immigration base of the party. And so we're playing political games at a time when the safety and the security of the American people is being threatened.
That should be on a loop. Play that over and over again. Put little signs up everywhere you go. That's Hakeem Jeffries saying our safety and security is threatened and he's the responsible for it. I don't know what it's going to take to hammer. I mean, like the Republican Party is like, I don't know. Donald Trump didn't tell us to do something. Wake up, folks. Do your job. This is the basics. And I mentioned, I get it. There's a lot of people listening right now in the tri-state area. Last week, early on, there was a crash at LaGuardia Airport because of this mishap. between a truck coming across a runway in Air Canada. 2 people died. When a tragedy occurs like that, they send the National Transportation Safety Board to investigate. This is the chairman of the National Security Safety Board talking about what the shutdown is doing to their ability to investigate. Take a listen.
We have LaGuardia that was shut down. We had a ground stop at Newark today. And then we have DHS that shut down, and we have long TSA lines. We have our air traffic control specialist who was in line with TSA for 3 hours until we called in Houston to beg to see if we can get her through so we can get her here. So it's been a really big challenge to get the entire team here, and they're still arriving as I speak. So it is a long travel day for many of those, and many are arriving by sure plane. We have had many that have come here by train, and certainly automobile. We drove up, a number of us.
I mean, I'm sorry. I've spent 30 years in the messaging business. Sometimes it's really challenging. Like you get an issue and you're like, how am I going to sell this? How am I going to make a compelling case for this policy or whatever? Because it's very difficult. This is not difficult. This is easy. I mean, this is like stick figure easy. Here is airport. You go to airport. You hold press conference. You say Democrats bad. You play clip of Hakeem Jeffries. Then play clip of National Transportation Safety Board saying how difficult it is. Democrats are to blame for this, no question about it. But the Republicans are sitting around. They're literally sitting around. Literally. What are you doing to make the case? And I worry about that. Not just, we've got an election coming up. And if you can't argue for yourself on something like this, how the heck are you going to do it on anything else? I mean, this is full on pathetic. Full on pathetic. And I'm just telling you, this is where that we need a wake-up call. We need a wake-up call because this is what's happening. And we finally got a DHS secretary, which I was excited about. Mark Wayne Mullen coming in. Okay. This is how Jimmy Kimmel, though, talked about Mark Wayne Mullen. Take a listen.
Rudy Giuliani might not be with us much longer, but don't worry, Trump's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including his newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne, Chuck Mike, Bruce Dave Mullen. Maybe Mellon's better. He is the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now. It worked for Super Mario. Why not Mark Wayne?
Okay. I mean, guys, look. I'm sorry, you elitist snot. Mark Wayne, he's been served in the House and served in the Senate on the Homeland Security Committee. You want to talk about who the Democrats appointed during Biden, during Obama? Dennis McDonough to lead the VA. That says a lot about what you think about veterans. A guy who's never served in the military, never taken a housing loan, never dealt with the veteran service organizations. Do you want to talk about the guy that they appointed to be HHS Secretary, Javier Becerra, who was an attorney, had no healthcare background at all, no experience in the movement? I mean, I'm sorry. And you elitist little snot to talk about Mark Wayne Mullen being a plumber, one of the critical trades in our society. What a snot. These elitist snobs. Anyway, I want to continue this discussion about what's at stake on Homeland Security, what the threats that we face are. We'll be right back after a quick break. You're listening to Full Court Press with Sean Spicer on WABC.
This is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer on 77 WABC. The Full Court Press is on the air. Now, here's Sean Spicer.
All right, welcome back to Full Court Press with Sean Spicer. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. Good Sunday morning to you. As you may have heard, I'm a little fired up about what Democrats are doing or not doing. and how Republicans are responding to this. I want to bring in a member of President Trump's Homeland Security Advisory Committee, Bo Dietl. Bo's also a retired cop, so you know this issue probably more than anybody, what we're at stake. I pontificate, you live it. Bo, good Sunday morning to you.
Thank you very, very much. And matter of fact, I proposed, I was just in the White House 3 weeks ago with the president, and then I talked to Stephen Miller. I had a good proposal as far as, when we self-deported people, when they listened to the government, to Kristi Noem when she was there. Some of these people, including 2 carpenters I knew from Long Island, they self-deported. They had 3 children on Long Island, but they wanted to do the right thing. So I said to the president, let's bring 1,000 of them back to have no criminal record, and let's show that we stand by what we tell people. And that was my idea, and the president really liked it. At the same time, I met with the Homeland Security Advisory Council, a couple of members, and also with Andrew Giuliani about the FIFA Cup. He's the one that's running it.
Yep.
So basically, I've been really involved with the Kristi Noem was the secretary, and I had some really great ideas. I have Rudy Giuliani on the council with me, and then Governor McMaster is on the council. We have some good people on it. So let's get right to the meat now as far as what's going. And Harm McNeil is the director of the TSA. I communicate with her all the time about what's going on with the TSA and all that. In the reality right now, we got Dumb and Dumber. That's the way. And I'm going to be very, very strong with this. Dumb and Dumber. And I know Plughead Schumer, Schmuck Schumer, from 20, 30, 40 years I know him. Then you have Hakeem Jeffries. There is no rhyme or reason. Right now we know one thing. We're in the middle of a war right now with Iran. And when people want to not recognize the fact that they're going to strike back, they're going to strike back in many ways. They have sleeper cells, and they're going to look for body counts. They might strike back by watching TSA now being low-graded. It's not up to par what's supposed to be. How about taking planes down with any kind of an explosive? This is what we should be dealing with instead of the bull crap about not funding the TSA. If anything, we should fund more. And, a lot of people don't know with the Homeland Security, we have CISA. That's the one when they hack into the computers, into our military, into our corporations. And then you have the Coast Guard, you have Secret Service, TSA, and on and on and on. There's no rhyme or reason. I remember 9/11. I was down there. I'm a retired New York City homicide detective. I went down there. I was not on the force. I had retired. And I remembered all about why Homeland Security was formed, was to put the intelligence together. And we know, Sean, we knew from the CIA about this bin Laden piece of garbage. We knew all about what al-Qaeda was about, but yet they wouldn't filter it over to the FBI and communicate with the intelligence. And that was the breakdown. I mean, you get these 18, 19 guys taking flight lessons. They have all this information. So now what I'm trying to get at right now is what we're facing right now with this dragging of the feet not to supply. I don't like what happened in Minnesota. First of all, Border Patrol, and I told this to the president, Border Patrol should have never been used in an inner city, especially a liberal inner city like that. They just looked for confrontation. They looked to harass. They looked to do everything. I would have pulled them out, and I would have said, you know what, Minnesota and Minneapolis, I tell you what, you will not get a penny of federal funding until you start turning over the convicted illegal immigrants over to ICE. Why should we have to go to their house? If they waited when they get locked up, which the violent ones get locked up all the time, and they get released. Chicago, New York, we have to be able to work with this. We don't need ICE roaming the streets. What we could do is we could wait for them to turn over the illegal criminal alien over to ICE, and we would have more than we can handle, I tell you the truth.
Well, but here's I want to take this step by step. My first critique, I'll start with this. You brought it up. Schumer and Jeffries.
Yeah.
2 guys from New York. I don't need to tell anyone from New York.
Dumb and Dumber.
I'll get there. But you guys in New York don't need anyone to explain to you Homeland Security. Like this is it's ingrained in your blood. How do two guys from New York, Jeffries and Schumer, stand in the way of Homeland Security? I just played, Bo, in the last segment, Jeffries talking about not playing politics with DHS funding. And here they are playing politics with it. How do they get away with it in a city like New York City, in a state like New York?
Very simple. Just as look as far as Gracie Mansion. When you got this lunatic Mondumi being elected, and you know how he was elected? DSA. Remember that, Democratic Socialists of America. This is what the AOC. Everybody's afraid of that. This is the new influx. And that guy from China, I think his name is Sigmund. What's his name? That billionaire guy. Him along with Soros are funding this DSA. They fund all the negative stuff against the cities, against the states, against the country. This guy has funded over $600 million. So what they do is they hit the ground, and they're afraid of him. All these politicians are afraid of him because they come, and when they come into a city with the votes and all that, they bring the votes out. They go door to door. They make sure that they get the votes. And this is what they're afraid. They're afraid if they don't go enough left and anti-ICE, anti-Homeland Security, anti-Trump. Let's be honest about it. It's all about anything that Trump wants to do or say, they have to be on the other side. And I tell you, it's just aggravating. A guy like Plughead Schumer, it's aggravating because he should have a little bit more intelligence. But now I see what he is. All he is full of baloney. And Hakeem Jeffries, can you just imagine the next Speaker of the House, if they take the House, you got this schmuck Hakeem Jeffries who, I mean, their intelligence level is very, very low in the sense that you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility being a congressman and a United States Senate. What should be the most important thing? The security and safety of your people.
But Bo, I get the funding, okay? I get exactly what you just said, all the ads and that. But you got to tell me, I mean, when I go to New York City, there's a sense of, like, people there are resilient. They don't forget. They don't forget. Like, how did they get away? Like, I get what they say. I get the ads that you just talked about with DSA. But explain to me, like, how do you, Hakeem Jeffries, look in the face of a New Yorker, particularly in the boroughs, and say, yeah, I'm the guy holding up TSA funding. I'm the guy holding up DHS funding. I don't understand how there's not, of all the places in the country, all the places, the folks in New York City aren't saying, Hakeem Jeffries, shame on you. Chuck Schumer, shame on you.
Sean, all I got to do is tell people, your listeners, when you go to vote in November, remember these long lines. Remember the TSA. Those TSA workers make under $50,000 a year. They work for paycheck to paycheck, and there's no inference as far as no consideration for them or their families. How dare you, Hakeem? How dare you, Plughead Schumer, do this to these hardworking people who are there? And half of them, I think, are leaving. It's not going to go back very well, and there's no rhyme or reason. We can negotiate. If you want the ICE guys to have nameplates on, whatever you want to do, that could be negotiated. But the most important thing is security and safety immediately. And when you sit back and you're playing with people's lives like this, and this SAFE Act, you know, the whole thing as far as the 85% of this country, Democrats and Republicans, support voter ID. So why are you doing this? What reason other than to be negative against President Donald Trump and the Republicans? This is not a Republican or Democratic issue. This is security and safety of Americans. And we know, God knows what we just saw in Chicago. I mean, how horrible that young girl was watching the Northern Lights.
Yep.
She gets shot in the head, dead. And then all of a sudden you get a schmuck, that mayor there, that idiot, and that fat guy, that governor there. And the woman comes out and says, well, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She may have startled this illegal criminal immigrant. I mean, Sean, I go crazy when I listen to these people, and they get voted. No one cares about. When I was a Fox News contributor for 12 years, I used to talk about with Hannity and O'Reilly. I used to give the count of people killed. Then you had a guy named Obama, President Obama, who came out of that. He was one of these district leaders, whatever the hell he was. He became a senator overnight, United States Senate. Nobody cared about the tens of thousands of people in Chicago, 98% mostly black, were being murdered. Nobody cares. Where is the sensibility of this whole thing? And it's going to happen. We just had a guy, a veteran, pushed in front of a train, killed in New York City. And the guy, again, was another criminal, illegal alien. What is the problem? We want America. My mom comes from Sicily, Catania. My father comes from Germany. I'm first generation. I love this country more than Italy, Germany. I don't give a crap about them. I care about America. When you come into this country, you abide by the rules and regulations. You commit crime and you become a criminal. We don't want you. Let's get them out.
So let me ask you this. I want to flip the parties because I made the case just a minute ago before you got on that Republicans, people, no one would mistake the level of passion that you have. You're out there fighting. You're talking about it. I love it. Where the hell is that on the Republican side? Where are part of the point that I made, Bo, just a little while ago was the Democrats are to blame. 100% we're in this situation because of them. But there is no opposition. There's no one in Republican Party politics right now out there making the Democrats feel the pain, explain that they're the ones to blame for this. I'm equally disappointed in my own party that these knuckleheads
Sean, you're hitting the nail on the head. That way you get my friend Curlyhead there from Kentucky there. That Senator Rand Paul, whatever the hell his name is. And then you get these people that were so divisive as far as not standing with right and wrong. It's not Republican or Democrat. And damn it, where are the conservative, moderate Democrats that believe in the safety and security of Americans and break away from the stupid party of Democrats anti-Trump? It's all about Trump. They don't want Trump to succeed in any of his values, in any of his direction. But you know what? It irks them inside. They don't like his attitude. They don't like the way he speaks. One thing about President Trump, he friggin' stays awake. He doesn't fall asleep like Sleepy Joe. And I tell you what, every move that he's making, he's got more energy. 80-year-old man has more energy than any 25-year-old man. And he sleeps a couple hours a night. He's on top of everything. And I sat with him, like I said, 3 weeks ago before we went into Iran. And he actually asked me, what do you think about going into Iran? I said, Mr. President, it's like a fight. We got to take them out before they go after us. And Steve Witkoff was my old partner in construction in the 1990s. And Steve told me about, them bragging about they were going to have these missiles, effectively, I think 11 missiles with the nuclear head, whatever that was. We had a strike. We had a strike because if we waited there, we would have had dead Americans on our bases. We would have had dead people with our Gulf state allies. When you have a bully, what do you do with a bully? You punch him in the face, and when he goes down, you don't let him up. You kick him in the head so he can't get up. And that's what Trump is doing now in Iran. And I don't understand why there is not more overall support for what we're doing right now, taking on. This thing goes back. People forget 1980. I don't forget when they kidnapped all the Americans and they held them captive. And it went on. And then this whole funding of Al-Qaeda and bin Laden come out of Iran. And this is what it's all about. People forget 9/11. I don't forget 9/11. And you know what? It's going to happen here in New. How do you think they're going to get back at us right now? They're going to go and they're going to kill Americans. You're listening to it now, and you can replay it when it happens. I guarantee it's going to happen. Not maybe. This is now percolating. I'm not talking about. I worry about. We have no idea what has come to our southern border, and then you have the whole effect of these late 20s, early 30s Asian Chinese. I can call them Chinese. I don't care if I'm politically correct or not. Chinese guys coming across our border. They're in our country right now, and there's a reason why our F-35 is there. And the Chinese top jet is a knockoff of every piece of our equipment. They've hacked into Boeing, all our major weaponry, and they outdo us in space. They have attack satellites that can knock our GPS out. You knock our GPS out, you can sit in an F-35 and just sit there and sing twiddly because you're not going to fly it without GPS. These guys are so advanced in the cyber area that's what we should be doing now. Instead, we're defunding that as we're speaking.
Yeah, it is crazy. Bo Dietl, I really appreciate you joining us on this Sunday morning.
I'll come back anytime. I love you. You're a great American, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Look, I'm 75 years old. I'm a grandfather. I love this country, and I want this country to be good for my grandchildren. And what we're doing right now, we're going into an abyss. If we go back and if we lose this midterm, you know what's going to happen, Sean.
I know.
Impeachment, investigations. Our country, the economy will go into the toilet because no one's going to want to invest and everybody's going to try to run away. Americans have to realize one thing. It's not Republican or Democrat. It's America. Protect the security and safety of Americans and get rid of these lefties that don't want to conform to the fact that you have immigration. We love it. I love it. But let's not have immigration where the criminals stay here after committing 1, 2, 3, 4 crimes. And that is Mayor of New York, this little monkey face guy, Mr. Smiley. Oh, I got to tell you, Sean. So when I went to the White House, all of a sudden, who do you think walked out of the White House? Smiley face, Mondummy.
Oh, my God.
President.
He probably was excited to see you, Bo.
And then all of a sudden, I went like this with my finger in his mouth. I'm not going to use the F word, but I put my finger in his face. I said, listen, I'm a retired detective. Don't F with the cops. Don't ever, you know what he did? All he did was smile. That stupid smile he's got. And then I walked into with the president. I know the president very well. We go back 45 years, golf together with Steve and all that stuff. So I go to the president. What was that Tommy doing in your office? To this day, I still don't know why he would have him in his office. Wow. I don't know. But I do know President Trump. There's a reason behind what he does.
Bo Dietl, thank you for being with us. Thanks for your service to the country. I appreciate it. We'll definitely have you back. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Love you, Sean, and good luck, my brother.
Thank you.
You're a great patriot.
All right. Well, you're listening to Full Court Press on WABC with Sean Spicer. We will be right back.
This is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer on 77 WABC.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to your personal briefing. The Full Court Press is on the air. Now, here's Sean Spicer.
Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome back to Full Court Press with Sean Spicer. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, here on WABC. Thanks for kicking off your Holy Week with us. It's Palm Sunday. Hopefully we get a good week. And I mean that in the sense that every once in a while, Peter Navarro used to call it Trump time. It's just so fast that I hope we get a little reprieve. And I know he's got a lot on his plate coming up next week with the war and everything else. So I don't know if that's going to happen. By the way, I had a chance to spend some quality time with the president in the Oval Office on Friday. I showed him for the first time ever the cover to my new book, Trump 2.0. And it was a great conversation. I was very kind. He actually signed it. I put it up on social media. If you want to go to my Instagram, you'll see me at the Resolute desk with him. He signed the cover of the book, which was cool. He was kind enough to write the foreword, which is what I think is so cool. Like, he's endorsed 5. First of all, the idea that I've written now 5 books is insane. My 7th grade teacher, Miss McKay, would have been like surprised I read a book. Never mind, wrote a book. but he's endorsed every one of the other ones. And this time, when I called to tell him about the premise of this book that I was writing, he said, do you want me to write the foreword? And I've never had him. I was like, you don't say no to Donald Trump, especially when he's offering you something as kind as that. So he said, of course I would, Mr. President. So anyway, he writes the foreword. I'm excited. I've shared pieces of it at SeanSpicer.com. But here's the thing. We got in this discussion, and why I wrote the book and why I think this is important is that there was a lot that we did in the first term, Trump 1.0. But Trump 2.0 is vastly different. It's historic. It's transformational. And I think you could ask the biggest Trump hater in the world, and they would agree with that. But the question comes down to why. Why is it different? And I'm going to tell you the premise of the book right now, because because this is what I said to the president of the United States himself. I said, Mr. President, I know sometimes you get upset that you didn't go right sequentially. And he jokes in his speeches. He says, so I got the World Cup. I got FIFA. I got the Olympics. I got the 250, which he wouldn't have had if he'd been sequential. Only one other president in our nation's history, Grover Cleveland, has come back to office. One. Trump's the only one in modern history. And so why does that matter? Here's why. And this is the premise. When you have 4 years to think, what will I do different? Who are the people? What are the policies? What are the processes that I will do differently? So here's a perfect example. Trump 1.0, Jim Mattis gets recommended to the president to be the Secretary of Defense. He comes up to Bedminster, meets with the president for, an hour. We take a picture with him. President makes a decision. We tell Mattis to meet us in North Carolina. We get out in Trump Force One. We fly down on December 5th and introduce him at a rally. That was the extent of Trump's relationship with Mattis prior to him being named Secretary of Defense. That's it. One meeting. Conversely, and the list goes on and on. Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. You go down, though, and think of the rest of the people, right? Now, Pete Hegseth, I think he's known him for 15 years. Pam Bondi, he's known her for at least 20. Susie Wiles, he's known her for 10. Caroline Leavitt served in the first one. Stephen Chung worked for me in the first Trump. He was actually on the 2016 campaign. These people have a level of familiarity with him and the America First agenda that we didn't in Trump 1. And the president said to me, he was like, Sean, we did great. And I'm like, I'm not demeaning anything that we did in Trump 1.0. It's just, why is it different? And I fundamentally believe that the 4 years out of office were transformative because he got to think, you are going so fast in that White House, so fast. You don't have time to think. Monday becomes Tuesday, becomes Wednesday, becomes Thursday. The same chief of staff keeps going and working on the same policies they were working on the week before. So if you're sequential, like every other president in history, you just keep going. When you pause for 4 years, I bring up the example that America First Policy Institute didn't exist. It grew out of the first term. These guys laid out a bunch of policies that were important if they ever got back. I sat down with the folks at America First Policy Institute and sketched out how I would do the job and set up the office differently in communications and press. And they sat down with some other folks that worked for me as well. So when Caroline Leavitt came in, they said, hey, we did a bunch of research that you might want to look at and consider. Now, she added some of her own elements, as she should, and she did it her own way. But she had the ability to look at all of this research that was done. There was a whole list of people that could get hired. There were people that were vetted. They were, hey, these are good people for Homeland Security. These are people that are good for Health and Human Services. And they've been vetted. They're America First people. And oh, by the way, you go back and you look, and I'm staring at a copy of Project 2025 as I talk to you right now. How important was that? They pre-flighted all these policies. They handed them to them. So that on day one, they were ready to go. And it's not that they took them in wholesale and said, okay, great, let's just do this. It was given a blueprint that they could tweak and adapt and edit, but it was a starting point. We didn't have that in Trump 1.0. We just didn't have it. So anyway, if you want to go to Amazon right now, you can go to Amazon and order Trump 2.0. The foreword was written by the president. He's been super kind to it. and take a look at why, because no one else is going to give you this perspective, just to be blunt. I mean, and I think a lot of people don't stop to appreciate why it's different, why it's impactful, why it's historic, why it's consequential in a way that I can and did, because I talked to a lot of people. It wasn't just my take. I sat down with a lot of people and said, what do you think is different and why? And I think sometimes that why is what matters. All right, I did this for you last week and I thought it was fun. So I want to show you my version this week of Dems behaving badly. And I want to start with a clip that got dug up of Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy. And I like to say he said the quiet part out loud. So here he is on, it was then when he did it, MSNBC. It's now MS Now, which, what a stupid name. And he's talking, just listen to what he says at the end, okay? This is the key part. You'll hear Chris Hayes, the host, come in, and then Senator Murphy of Connecticut. Pay close attention to the last couple phrases he uses. Let's go.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So You are right that that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
Two things that I hope you heard. Number one, the people we care about the most. The undocumented Americans. That was the other thing that a lot of people didn't pick up on that I did. They're not Americans, but that's what they think. The people we care about the most, the undocumented Americans. That's what you have to understand. That's who their constituency is. That's who they're fighting for. Not the folks in Connecticut that Chris Murphy's supposed to, that are legal, that are citizens. The undocumented Americans are the people we're fighting for. Those are his words, not mine. Why are we not? I mean, this is so revealing. This is who they care about. I think I've always said every elected official, mayor, city council president, the number one job is to keep your people safe that you represent. But when you hear the Democrats talk about it, you realize their number one goal is to protect the undocumented, the illegals. They said it. This isn't Sean Spicer, some right-wing talking point, some MAGA influencer. That's Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, saying it to you. Believe him when he says it. So how does that manifest itself into policy? Well, we see it. We've seen it here in Virginia, where Abigail Spanberger is defending a dude who shot a woman at a bus stop, a mother who had been convicted 30 times of crimes, and she refused to release the dude into ICE so that he could go back out and kill again. And now we see it in Illinois. Governor Pritzker is blaming Trump for the Sheridan Gorman murder. And he says there were federal shortcomings that are to take a listen to. I want you to hear Governor Pritzker.
Well, this has been a terrible tragedy, and I know that the Gorman family has suffered mightily. I agree, there have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. They're national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst.
I'm literally like befuddled. Like, what the hell does that mean? The president of the United States, under your president, J.B. Pritzker, you let all these people in. All of them. This is a guy who's a murderer, and you're saying the president should be going after the worst. I mean, like, I don't even know what he means by this. You did nothing. You created a sanctuary city, a place where people could go and hang out and know that they were immune from prosecution or from ICE looking after them. I cannot, I mean, I think there's a word that some use called chutzpah. This is unbelievable. These guys, they say stuff. And again, half of me's mad at them and half of me's mad at their own party. They're protecting these folks. They care more about them than us. I'm sure that, what did he say? I'm sure the Gorman family's feeling tough. Yeah, they're feeling horrible because they lost a family member that could have been avoided if it wasn't for your policies of your party that you've instituted as governor. It gets worse. Not just the governor. You heard what he said, because the president didn't keep it. I mean, the president didn't let this killer in. The president's done everything he can. In fact, it's your party that stopped him from executing this plan. But it's your party that blames the victim. What do I mean? It's so much worse than what Pritzker said. There's a Chicago Democrat. Her name is Maria Hayden. And she says that the illegal immigrant who shot the woman, that woman that we were just talking about, in the head was not at fault. Because in fact, it's the victim's fault. It's Sheridan's fault. Because you know what? She shouldn't have been there. It's her fault. I mean, it's the victim's fault. Again, not my words. I want you to hear what Maria Hayden, Democrat alderman in Chicago, says.
The kids were out doing normal things people do in the neighborhood. And it sounds like this might have been a wrong place, wrong time, running into a person who had a gun. They might have startled this person at the end of the pier unintentionally. But that's all we know.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. Startled that person. I mean, I'm sorry. Just think about and contrast that to all the stuff that happened during Black Lives Matter, during Renee Good, James Preddy. Now you can startle somebody and you should expect to get shot by an illegal. She wouldn't. She should have been in the places. She should have been playing where normal people play, not down on the pier, for goodness sake, because that's where you're going to get shot. I've been in politics for 30 years. I don't think I've ever thought that I'd be having a discussion where I'm trying to explain how one party could be at this point where they're defending people who are in the country illegally, number one. And number two, killing people that are United States citizens, and then the party, whether it's Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, J.B. Pritzker, or Maria Hayden in Chicago, defending the killing of an American by an illegal. When I talk about this, for the longest time, I'm used to policy discussions in Washington. I want lower taxes. Dems want higher taxes. Less government. They want more government. I get it. There are differences in policies. Healthcare. You name it. I mean, defense policy. There's always differences. But when did things get so crazy that one party is now on the side of people in the country illegally killing other people? And I know Bo raised this in the last segment. And some of my other, we need to start saying the quiet part out loud. And it's this. The Democrats have a plan. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. They had an open borders policy for a reason, to let these people in. Why? Well, once they got here, what did they do? They gave them gift cards. They gave them phones, hotel rooms, Social Security number in a lot of cases, driver's licenses. You put all that together and you say, well, why? And then you look at what's going on with the SAVE Act. I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion than they have a plan, and their plan is to use this as their next wave of Democrats. Oh, Sean, that's so cynical. You can't say that. Why not? Tell me I'm wrong. How can you explain all of the things that I just said, excuse me, and come up with any other conclusion? Let them in. Protect them when they're here. Protect them that are violent. You don't support anything that will get rid of them. You protect them. You give them things like not just worldly goods, but you also give them licenses and social security numbers. Why would you do that if they wasn't part of a bigger plan? Oh, we're just trying to make sure that they can drive. I mean, and oh, by the way, not even require English for truck drivers. I mean, these videos are insane. Here's the funny thing, though. It's not just the Democratic Party. It's the media. They downplay it. They censor it. They cover it all up. My buddies over at the Media Research Center do some great work. And they put out a study, an analysis, I guess is probably the better way of saying that, that showed that the networks downplay illegal aliens in this issue that we're talking about, this Chicago murder. Do you know how much time ABC spent on that? 1 minute, 19 seconds. CBS, 2 minutes and 1 second. And the folks over at NBC, the Proud Peacock, 23 seconds. If you add it all up collectively, the left-wing legacy media, those three channels, have spent a total of 3 minutes and 43 seconds covering the murder of Sheridan Gorman by an illegal. I mean, I just, again, think about that. I just, they cover up, they obfuscate. The media is part of the problem. They'll talk about Renee Good and James Preddy in Minnesota all day long. They don't even cover when a U.S. citizen is killed by an illegal. Don't even touch it. So there's no outrage because they don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to know that that's the case. And one of the things that Bo said that is so important as we get ready for the midterms, they don't want you fired up. They won't want people excited. They don't want you to understand this. But if we don't win the midterms, it ends. I've seen the movie before. Many of you have seen the movie. If we lose the House, it's impeachment, 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 investigation after investigation after investigation, and no movement whatsoever at all on the Trump America First agenda. Near nothing. It gets worse, and I don't mean to do this on a Sunday morning, but unfortunately, I want you to understand what's at stake because our party leaders are feckless. They can't even do a simple airport press conference. By the way, go to my Instagram, check out what I did. I'm going to do it for them. If we lose the Senate, Trump nominees, they're all gone. No more assistant secretary of this or commissioner of that or secretary of this or director of that. Senate won't let any of that through. So I'm just telling you right now, we need to get out and fight for this agenda. We need to understand what's at stake. We need to share it person to person, colleague to colleague, family member to family member, coworker to coworker, Facebook friend to Facebook friend. But it's up to us because the mainstream media is going to do everything they can to make sure you don't hear about critical issues that are important, that don't favor the Democratic Party. So, again, thank you guys for being with me on this Sunday morning on Full Court Press as we enter this Holy Week. I hope that you find it very reflective. I will be with you on Easter Sunday morning. Again, you can find me every morning live on YouTube on my channel at 8:30 for the huddle, and then again at 6 p.m. for the Sean Spicer Show. Just go to my YouTube channel and you can subscribe and get that. And please go to Amazon and order a copy of Trump 2.0. President Trump wrote the foreword to it. I'm so excited for this. So please go to Amazon right now, order that book. I will see you back here next Sunday on Easter. Until then, this is Full Court Press with Sean Spicer on WABC.